Okay, so I know you love examples, so I wanted to give you one more business launch formula example. And the thing is, you're going to notice, I mean, you look at those first two I gave you, fundamentally different, but still, what are the common themes? Starting building that list, continuing to build that list, creating products based on what the market wants, creating a portfolio of products over time, never having it, not getting it perfect the first time, starting small and growing from there. And, I could give you dozens and dozens of examples. In the first module, I mentioned Susan Garrett, and she started off with that ebook, that $27,000 launch, which was great, but she has grown from there, just one product after another. And we see this over and over, like within my platinum group. And the great thing about my platinum group is I get to spend, I meet with them 3 times a year. So, I get to really dig inside their businesses, and we see this example over and over and over where people are just building a list, do a launch, then have their next launch defined, or the next product defined by the interaction they have with the people, both their prospects and their buyers list, and it works over and over. So, and the thing is there's almost never a big master plan to start with. It's building the list, building the relationship list, and what people want. So this next example is for my product launch formula business, where I teach people about online marketing. And this is my biggest and best business yet. I'm sure I'm probably gonna have another one, but this one's doing pretty well. So this is the deal. In 2003, and I'm still publishing about the stock market back then in 2003, and I went to a marketing seminar. And at that market, I met a bunch of people. I thought, this is really cool. And a lot of the people I met were selling online marketing stuff. By that time, I'd been in selling stuff for 7 years, and I built up a lot of experience. I was getting pretty good at marketing. I knew I was pretty sharp at marketing. And looked around, saw these people in that business. I thought, this is a pretty cool business. I might want to be in that business and teaching online business. I might want to be in that business at some point. So I built up some great relationships at that first seminar. I went home and I put together a squeeze page, and I started doing a little tiny list building. It's very, very, very humble. I think, in the next couple of years, I got, I don't know, between 1,000 and 2,000 people on that list. Nothing impressive, especially given the numbers I had in that stock market niche where I was publishing to this huge list and had a significant business, was making a bunch of money. But I just put up the squeeze page and I let traffic trickle into that squeeze page. Didn't really do anything to drive traffic to it. Just built it through word of mouth. And started to build some relationships. Every now and then I would mail about an affiliate offer, but maybe twice a year maximum. But I started that was my thinking, is I might want to be in that business someday. I don't know. Might want to be there someday. I'm just going to start publishing. We'll see what happens. And I wrote an autoresponder sequence. In fact, the site's still up. It's at 6in7.com. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. You can see what my sites looked like back in 2003. I don't know, since I'm putting this out there, maybe I'll go and I'll put a decent page up, but it's at 6in7.com. And so that stood for 6 figures in 7 days. That, when I first went to that seminar, I started telling people about my launches, and I'd just come off doing that 6-figure launch. And it was a really big, that seemed like really cool in the day. It still is really, really cool, but in this era where I'm doing these $1 million launches and my friends are doing $1 million launches, it's a little, almost quaint. But back then it was really impressive. So I shortened that 6 figures in 7 days to 6in7.com, and I put up the squeeze page, started building a list. So I only mention that because this was 2 years, more than 2.5 years before I would ever actually sell anything in that market. But my first thought was, I might want to play in this market at some point. I'm going to create a squeeze page. I wrote some autoresponder copy, and that was it. I didn't do anything to it whatsoever. Like I said, just sent out maybe in 2.5 years, maybe sent out 3 promotions total, I think. So then an interesting thing happened in 2005. It was March 2005. My partnership broke up. And that happens to partnerships, but it happened rather suddenly. My partnership, one day I had business. I got a phone call, I picked up the phone. My partner didn't want to be in business anymore, so that business went away. So that was early 2005, and I was scheduled to speak at Yannick's underground online seminar. So just as Yannick was one of the friends I had made, Yannick Silver. He was one of the prominent internet marketing trainers at the time, and had gotten to know him, become friends. He asked me to speak at an event, so I said, sure, I'll come out and speak. And that was sort of my coming out party, to go out and speak at this marketing event. And I think it was like the end of March in 2005 when the event was going to be. I was planning on just going and speaking and walking off the stage and not doing anything. But then when that business blew up in about 3 weeks before that, I'm like, maybe I'll do a training about these product launches. Maybe I'll put together a training and sell the training from stage. And so that's what I did. So there's like 200 or 300 people in the room. I got up there, and for an hour and 25 minutes, I gave the best content I had, taught everything I knew about product launches. And at the end of it, I said, and if you want to know, to learn more about this, you want to get some more training, you can get my course. I'm putting together a training for this for $3,000. I had 6 people buy. So $18,000. At that point, it was great because I didn't, my business had gone away, earlier that month. So it was great to bring in that money. But really selling 6 people when there's 200 or 300 in the room, that's really lousy results. But it was because I don't know how to sell. I wasn't a salesperson. I wasn't a pitch man. So anyways, I took those 6 people, $3,000 each. That was my initial seed launch for Product Launch Formula. I called it the Product Launch Workshop. So what I did was I took those 6 people, and we'll just write down 6, and then I'm like, that's not enough to teach, because I'm going to do a series of calls. And so I had a bunch of friends now who, and I had a mastermind group, and I invited all of them in on a comp basis, so they didn't have to pay. So we added probably about 30 more people in on a comp basis. So we ended up with like 36 people through this first training. 6 paid, 30 for free, but it gave me enough to do the training. There might have been more, it might have been 40 or whatever. But we had this good training group. I did this series, I promised them 5 teleseminars. I delivered those teleseminars. The key thing is through each teleseminar, I kept on going back to them and saying, okay, what on that topic, and maybe the topic was creating pre-launch content, what did I do different? What questions do you have? What didn't I cover? What do you need to know? What did I do really well in that call? What do I need to do differently? How do I need to train you better? And I do that after every call. And the feedback I got basically taught me how to teach product launches. So I knew how to do product launches. I'd done a whole bunch of them at that point in 2005. I'd done dozens of them, but I'd never taught it. So this is how I learned to teach, and this is a key principle. It's a key principle of the seed launch, which we're going to be getting to in this module. But that's how I learned. And so this is the product launch workshop, PLW. Then I'm like, okay, this is working great. I worked with these people. They got some great results. Since it was so interactive, they loved it. I did a great job with it because it was interactive. I got great word of mouth. I got some great case studies out of that. So now I had case studies, and I'm like, I'm liking this business. I'm liking the potential here. Even though I only sold 6, I knew it was because I was a lousy salesperson. Meaning wasn't experienced at selling from stage. And so what I did was I created version 1.0 of PLF, of Product Launch Formula. And so I had that tiny little list I started building. So I had about 2,000 people on that tiny little list. But I also had all these JV partners. And the JV partners were those friendships I had made in the prior 2 years, all those relationships. And because I had this great word of mouth coming out of these people, and because I've been building these relationships, they were all interested in promoting. So I sent my 2,000 people into the pre-launch. My JVs all sent their people. All of a sudden, I think I came out of this with between 15 and 20,000 people on my list that I built through this launch just by these JVs. So that was just absolutely amazing. And this 1.0 launch did $600,000. Now, And these, I went on to do much bigger launches, and certainly the launches in this market are much bigger now, but that was one of the biggest launches ever at that point. I was brand new to the market. No one knew who I was. I had built some relationships with some powerful joint venture partners. I had some friendships from going to that seminar, and I got to a few other seminars. So I had some good friendships in the inner circle, but for the most part, the public didn't know who I was. And I was still able to come out and do $600,000, primarily because I'd done this initial workshop and I'd learned how to teach it. And one of the things I want to mention is all those calls, I had recorded all those calls, the bonus calls, I recorded all those calls. But when I did this version 1.0, I ended up going and recreating the product, recreating the video product because I really wanted a great product. But I used what I learned here, what I learned and how to teach it. So then this evolved into, I was, $600,000, kept the product in the market. I was doing about $1 million in sales per year. And then in 2008, I came out with 2.0. I leveraged all the list build, I leveraged all those JVs, and I leveraged everything I had learned in those 3 years. And this is the one. This one did $3.7 million in 36 hours that we were open, completely crushed it. Also did some what we call line extensions, some added to the portfolio. In here, I did like a coaching program, and I did a live event. The coaching program sold for there was a couple different levels. The highest level was $18,000 for a 3-month event. That was just based on the positioning I got off of this 1.0 launch. I did the first PLF Live workshop was $5,000 ticket to get into that. So I did those in here. Then we came out with 2.0. Then a few years later, we came out with 3.0. That one again did almost 4 million. It was just about exactly the same. I think it was 3.6 million. We did a product launch manager, was another product that the market told us that they wanted. That was 2.5 million. That was a $10,000 video workshop, basically. Then now we're at, then we did Platinum. Platinum came out of 3.0. So Platinum, I've got this amazing Platinum group. I love these folks, but that program has got a few different levels. But the highest level is like $32,000 a year. So these, you can see, again, it's just very organic how one thing led on to another. And it basically came out of me doing a seed launch. And seed launches are awesome, and we're about to get to that in this module. But the seed launch, where I only had 6 people. 6 people bought. We've now, over 10,000 people have gone through PLF. All based on selling 6, learning how to teach, learning what the market wanted, and then walking through here and continually listening to what the market wanted, updating the product, upgrading the product, creating additional products like PLM and Plat and the live workshop. And here we are, 10,000 people, $500 million in launches for my product launch formula owners. So again, it can start very humbly. It can start very humbly, and it's all about getting that first product out there and then iterating from there, making it better from there and walking forward.